I think we are live. Okay, there we are. Okay, I'm gonna put that screen close. Okay, wow, technology a little slow this morning, but it is Monday after all. And that's why we're here, ladies and gentlemen, for our morning cup of Moxie. I am Cheryl Kaiser. I wasn't really sure I was going to remember my name this morning for some reason, but I am Cheryl Kaiser, the Moxie coach and photographer, and I'm really glad you're here. And
I am Donna Zaretha. Good morning, my friends.
so it's that time of week and morning for our morning cup of Moxie. And so where to even start? I mean, we do usually have an idea, and what we thought would be a good idea to talk about is actually how photography can be an amazing way to meditate and worship and pray, like whatever, heal, depending on, what mood. And I think everybody right now is in some kind of like crazy anxiety mood of some kind or another. Um, and it's not necessarily a political thing. It's just family drama and all sorts of other drama going on. And, it seems like, when it rains, it pours or something. But I don't know. Are you finding the same thing?
I am. I feel so much anxiety here this past week. I've been struggling with that. I mean, what do you do? I mean, I've been looking back at some pictures and looking at possibly doing some journaling or meditating, or I don't know, my mind is just going crazy these past few days. How about you?
It's like, yeah, it's been kind of, you kind of don't know what to do with yourself. I can't seem to just kind of quiet my mind. And that's the time when, with some of the work I've done with a Christian meditation coach, as well as with my camera and kind of the things I'm doing now and where I photograph from in the first place is kind of a contemplative kind of way, where I'm like filled with listening for the Holy Spirit and how he's leading me. So that's why I thought, some of the things I've been developing lately, meditation with your camera, we all carry a phone. We all have a camera with us. Okay. Except maybe my husband. Shh, don't say I said anything. But he still has a flip phone and he's proud of it. And there are times that I kind of wish I still had my
Oh,
old razor phone. Uh,
it's not right.
but but I live by the idea anymore because it used to be like, oh, I'm a real photographer, I have to carry my big camera. Honestly, I've always been told and always even have said the best camera to have is the one you have in the moment. And photography, and I'm yelling, I'm sorry, I just get so excited. um but going out for a walk, even sitting in the backyard, like all of a sudden something, I've become aware of how I'm feeling. So I get wrapped up in my head and
Yeah.
I can't get out of that slippery slope of, whatever. And all of a sudden, if I'm sitting outside or walking or even sitting in the house, something catches my attention. And it's really cool because it's like, oh, okay. I see the trees out the window where I journal from every morning. And it's the same view out the front window and across the street. But I'm starting to recognize how it changes through the seasons. Now, this is a view I see every day. But stopping and just seeing the trees, going back and forth in front of the sun and the little flickering and things like that is cool. And I've taken so many pictures just from the couch out the front window and put it in my journal. And it's not what do you do with the picture afterward necessarily. It's not, is it a good picture? Sometimes it's simply the act of photographing. And I shouldn't say take or shoot or anything like that, because it's really, those are bad words. Nobody wants, but it's a gift, to be able to see something in that moment is a real gift. And taking that second to say, I see it, and the amazing things that God has created, and taking a moment to know that, and you fill your mind with whatever, scripture or message or listening, to your heart. It's like, wow, those trees going back and forth in front of the sun is like, I sense God's breath, or something. And then it's like, whew, I'm off and running journaling. But what do you think? Have you
Um,
had that?
when I was in Pennsylvania a few weeks ago, I just remember sitting in your backyard
Yeah,
and the trees and the sun, and you had put on a little piano music in the background, and
oh,
it
that's
was like
right.
so serene. And I look back at those pictures that I took then, and it just takes me back to that time of relaxation, of quiet, and just I just thank God for that moment, that I can look back on that. And because these anxieties that I've been feeling this week, and it's a little bit melancholy, a little stressed out. It's kind of bouncing around, but these pictures and images really kind of help to quiet my mind and get me in that prayerful state of gratefulness and thanksgiving.
I've put up that photograph that you're talking about because I remember sitting there with you and we were just, we talk a little bit and then we would say nothing. And, so often that's a big part of, having your bestie around is just saying nothing, just being and having a quiet moment. And yeah, I think this literally, if I see it correctly, literally was from the tree that we were sitting under, right?
It was
My
definitely.
my one of my favorite spots in the yard, my
Oh,
Adirondack chairs.
too. Boy, it was hard to get out of that chair. It was just so nice, and well, and that time of year up in Pennsylvania, all the colors and the trees, and I mean, it's just so beautiful.
And
Absolutely.
I have another one also. Even with this, and yesterday I was out in the backyard late in the day, which anymore I can't get used to the time change this time around, but it was like, wow, it's only 4 o'clock. It feels like it should be 7. Um, I noticed the way the sun was really low and coming through some like really high weeds that were taller than me, but the whole thing just glistened gold. And I got up out of my chair and just started taking some pictures. I'll probably not really do much with it except maybe journal it. I do have a folder on my computer that I put them in, and it's fun going back through. It's like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. And sometimes you even see things you didn't see when you photographed it. And that happened to me recently. I had done, I don't think I used it in a blog post, but in an email I used it. It was like a rock jetty that I had photographed in Erie, Pennsylvania. And there was just something about the waves, the way they were kind of crashing, because it was kind of stormy, crashing against this jetty. And I photographed the jetty, and there was like a tree growing out of it. And so I don't know, something attracted me to that view, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. So as months later, actually over a year later, as I'm going through the images, and I'm like, yeah. And so the meditative part was sitting behind the computer and seeing, and I opened it up and I said, the texture and everything and the storminess of the sky, this would look really cool as black and white. I made it into black and white, and all of a sudden I looked closely, and what I saw in that rock jetty was a portrait of a woman laying on her side with her knees pulled up. And I'll have to put that photo in the post with this video on Facebook. It was amazing. I'm like, oh, and then you can't not see it anymore. So
Right.
I think I texted you and my daughter. I'm like, wait, is it me? Or are you seeing a woman laying on her side with her knees pulled up like she's sleeping and like her hands under her cheek? And everybody's like, yeah, I see it. And then you can't unsee it. But it was like, wow. So what was it that God wanted me to see in that moment? I was seeing storminess and water and the one little sapling growing out of a rock jetty, um, which, it caught my attention enough to photograph it. But what led me to turn it to black and white and then all of a sudden to see it, and then it's like, what message, wow, what is it in there? Is it a message for me to just rest? Like there's so many things, and every time I look at it, it means it's telling me something different. And that's the beauty of photographs. Let me share your other photo. New share. There we go. Here's the other photo from your visit to PA.
I love that one. That that tree just caught my eye, and then I started looking, and I'm like, what is that? And it's like a leaf in mid-flight or something. It was just, and that was at, I
Oh,
believe, up at State Park, right?
yes, it says paused. Okay, there it is. Can you see it now?
I can see it, yes.
Okay. Sometimes, all right, it's kind of like the Starship Enterprise here, it seems. Um, yeah, just, I think it's not labeling things. You know, like you're sitting in a moment right here with my computer. You know, it's not, you know, you can kind of look and you see the whole disarray of papers and pens and things. But sometimes I just stop for a moment and I'll look at like, well, how did I lay that pen down? And I don't know, just certain things can catch your attention. You don't have to be a good photographer or think you're a good photographer. You just have to receive, you know, that moment and whatever it is that your heart is trying to tell you. Our trip to the state park, and this was done at the same time. This is on my blog post that I posted a couple weeks ago. And it, you know, I talk about the photograph and how does it speak to you, and I'll put this link in the post with this video also, so you can take a look, because there are questions you can ask yourself. And what attracted me about this photo, like what Donna said with the other one, is, you know, and this one's appearing on my screen a little darker, the trees in the background, the tree in the foreground, and these leaves floating by. And in the blog post itself, I talk about how, you know, the leaves were once on the tree and now they're just floating by. And I received and recorded that moment as they're floating by. So what was their destination? It made me kind of curious about where did they end up? And that in itself is a very calming thought process.
Right, right. Um, because I mean, I know I talked about my anxiety this week, but I'm sure a lot of people have been experiencing that same anxiety. I know we talked yesterday and we were both kind of bouncing off the walls with what's been going on, and even I think the coming holidays,
Yeah.
and still with COVID, and you know, my frustration too with being furloughed still is, it weighs on us, and I just, you know, I don't know what to do about that and how to calm, and then like you say, going back to those images and really journaling and really kind of getting in that moment again and finding that peaceful calm
Mm-hmm.
that you can think about just the day that God has made and being grateful for each moment, and then trying to be in that moment wherever you are. There's always that time that you know, I'll be sitting and I won't have my camera with me, but I can hear it click in my head. It's like, oh, click. I, you know, I take that moment and kind of take a mental image of it too. If I don't have my camera, I do that as well.
Mental
And
picture.
yeah, a mental picture, and it just kind of gets me in the moment, and of gratefulness and thankfulness and just cherishing the time that we have,
Mm-hmm.
you know, wherever it is,
Yeah.
and whoever we're with, you know.
Yeah, a few years ago, when I still had a good knee and could run a little bit, I went jogging Christmas Day from my mom's house, and you know, I wasn't carrying a phone or anything, and I was coming back toward the house, and it was an area that I'd never done that, you know, in a road I'd never even been on, and I stopped because there was like a brook just going through the woods and sun kind of dappling through the trees,
Hmm.
and you know, being that it was Christmas Day, and it stopped me, literally it stopped me in my tracks, and I wished I had some kind of camera, phone or something to record that moment, but I didn't. And like you said, it's like, you can almost hear it in your head, like little chit. And that's when I realized that, you know what, a mental snapshot like that is almost better in the respect that it's like a private moment, just me and him. And he, you know, he presented that moment to catch my attention because that's what he knew I needed right then and there. So I spent a moment or two, stopped. I was probably panting like a dog anyway. And so I I did a mental snapshot and moved on. And that was probably 6 years ago now. And it's still, I can still see it in my mind's eye. You know, it's
Right.
really cool. And I think a lot of that too is present that, and this is what my meditation coach that I worked with, and I'll put her link in there also, because she does have little workshops and things, was knowing that you don't have to fix, solve, or change anything in that moment, because our minds are always going, you know, they're always, but you know, you can kind of say, you know what, I don't need to worry about that right now. And that's where you can be, you know, present. And then having, you know, if you have recorded the photograph, the scene, you know, you can revisit it later, you know. So but yeah, there's a lot going on this week. For some reason, the time change, and I mean, there's something that has to be acknowledged about the phase of the moon,
Uh,
because Halloween was a full moon, a blue moon, Halloween. You know, I, you know, don't really do anything with Halloween, but and then I don't know. We just a lot of people I've talked to had a difficult time with the time change this time.
right. Oh my goodness. I know the
So
things we go through. I mean, I'm sure everybody's feeling some anxiety. I mean, what about you, sisters? I mean, haven't you been feeling some anxiety? What kind of things are you feeling anxiety about? We'd like to hear about it, and you know, go out and maybe take some time and take a picture or two, or just notice your surroundings and what's going on around you, and see if that kind of helps. Just kind of bring that quiet peacefulness that you
little
can, yeah, take a time to sit and relax, and like I said, maybe even journal a little bit. I don't know about you, but I putting some music on for me helps. You know, that, I don't know, piano music seems to do it for me, you know,
yeah.
just the little tinkling of the keys or something. There's something about that that's very relaxing and calming, and kind of helps quiet my mind as well, you
There's
know.
a playlist on Spotify called Slow Piano.
Uh,
And so I follow that playlist, and I'm sure, and actually on Sirius XM radio, you know, I have, you know, one of my favorites, I think, is spa music or something, like spa instrumental and whatever. So depending on what I want to listen to, but a lot of times that slow piano music I play during the day, because if I have music on with words on one of the stations that I listen to, I don't know, I just don't feel as settled and in flow of getting some things done that may take a lot of mental energy, because in the background I'm listening to the words of the music. But
well,
so yeah, check it out there.
so even the music with the words, and the praise and worship music, and the, you know, that will, if I need to bring energy up, I'll listen to that too,
Oh yeah.
and bring my mood up and my energy up, and so, yeah, I mean, using it to either to calm and settle you, or to energize you, get you motivated to move through the day, you know.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, and I'm sure probably just about all of us have playlists on Spotify of some kind. I have, you know, one private one that, you know, I actually named it "This Girl's Got a Rock" playlist, and it has a mixture of Christian music and, you know, rock music and things like that. And there's some mornings where it's like, you know what, I'm a little too much in my head, I need to get going, and I'll put on that playlist in the shower and crank it up. And it's obviously not in the shower with me, but when I'm getting ready, it's like, you know, and I carry my tablet room to room. And then when I'm, you know, making breakfast or getting ready to come down and do the morning cup of Moxie, you know, it's cranking away. And then when I have to change hats, I'll change music. It's kind of like
Right.
changing lanes on the
Yeah.
highway.
Oh, exactly. Yes.
So this morning, I bought a book of inspirational quotes by Joyce Meyer, and there was one that really caught my attention. And her quote is, "What truly matters in life is what's happening in us, not what's happening around us." And that was, a quote based on Colossians 3:15, that, let the peace of Christ be the controlling factor in our hearts, and settling to this peace. Indeed, we are called as members of one body to be thankful. So, but it just really caught my attention because of so much that's happening around us, and even to us, in some respects. We're in the middle of some circumstances, and it doesn't matter sometimes how much confidence and moxie we have. We just need a little bump of inspiration and motivation and encouragement.
I think so. Absolutely. I know I do. Oh, it gets crazy around here, and just have that to go to when I need it is is so nice. I have to even remind myself that it's there for me, to access whenever I need it to be, because like you said, you kind of get stuck in your head, and you get stuck in the moment, and you don't know what to do about it. And just to find that time, just to find a picture or song or something to kind of
Mhm.
snap you back.
Yep. Yep. And
Yeah.
then of course spending time in the word itself is even, will solidify a lot of that.
Right.
Um, so we would love to hear from all of the Moxie sisters and brothers, because there are guys here too. What do you do? Some people love to write as a form of meditation. Some, might write music or sing or draw or paint. But I'd be curious to know if this has helped you, that maybe having your phone with you and and just recognizing that moment, even if you don't have time to sit down and do something with it, but just that instant that stops you in your tracks, if it helps you to be a little more relaxed and a little more present for that moment, and receive that as a gift for the day. And we can collect up all those gifts and put them in a little flower pot as our bouquet of thankfulness for the end of the day. So we would love to hear.
Yeah. Love to hear. I'm sorry, I don't mean to overlap you, but yeah, I would love to hear what other people do. What do you do when you get stuck in those anxiety times to get
Yeah.
yourself out of it? I'd love to hear the ways that people do that for themselves.
Yeah.
I
So
think that'd be
yeah, definitely post. And so for the rest of this week, ladies and gentlemen, here's our morning cup of Moxie. Cheers.
cheers. Good
We
morning, everybody. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Don't forget to celebrate you and the moments. And you know, yay. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.